Gauges are very important for steam engines.
He'll signal the engineer, give him the high ball, and we'll get 2 whistles. 2 whistles is forward, 3 is back, 1 is stop. Sometimes we get 4 short little whistles in a row. That means that the engineer needs a conductor for something. You don't hear that one too often. Okay.
Oh, gee, I thought there was some kid crying.
2 whistles. Now, folks who just got on, welcome aboard. We do have safety announcements for your train ride. We don't want anyone getting hurt. There's no smoking allowed and no moving now that we're moving. So sit back and enjoy the ride. My name's Colleen. I'll be your host. Your conductor is Ken, and our brakeman is Joe.
Train starting, and I hear the bell.
Now, you might find that folks are waving at you. Everybody loves to wave at the choo-choo. They wave wherever they are, they wave. So if you see someone waving at you, do wave back at them. We're a very friendly train here. The other voice you get to hear is Jim. Jim in the box.
What are we doing? What?
Like Steve engine.
Right. Here's the roundhouse.
All of those train wheels.
Once again, welcome on board the 1880 train. As the train pulls out of the station, look around at the granite peaks and thick ponderosa pine forests that surround you. Although the Black Hills were supposed to be the protected territory of the Lakota and Cheyenne Indians off limits to white settlers, an Army expedition led by George Custer turned up gold a few miles south of here in 1874. Within months, there were
Tickets,
thousands
please.
of faceless miners,
Yeah,
mule
you.
skinners. Sit back, relax, and enjoy your ride. Worry about anything else. Let us do the driving. This is the best attraction to spend time with family and friends while enjoying the Black Hills, just like the early pioneers, miners, and settlers did when they discovered the West.
Now that's road crossing number 1. We do cross a road 20 times one way on our rides. We have 19 more of those to go. And every road crossing, the whistle is too long, too short, and long. These little whistles you're hearing are for our running brake test. You can't do that one time we're moving, and we're moving right along.
As we leave Hill City and enter the Black Hills National Forest, note the markers that line the tracks along our journey. The black and white markers are milepost signs, and the red and black markers indicate a point of interest. Be on the lookout for these signs as we travel toward Keystone. The 1880 train goes north, then turns east up Tin Mill Hill, so named because a huge tin processing facility was erected here by the Hardy Peak Company. The grade of the track deviates from 4 to 6%, making this one of the steepest railroads in the United States. This puts considerable strain on the locomotive, and the engineer usually takes this opportunity to blow sand through the locomotive's boiler flues to cleanse the soot from them.
Now the conductor and the brakeman will be coming through to gather up their tickets. Do keep a lookout for wildlife. We see deer and turkeys. I just saw mama deer and her baby right close to the track. We never know where you're going to see the wild animals because they are wild animals. So if you do see something, point it out to the folks right around you so they can see it also. Now our fireman is the one that actually cleans those flues. That happens right after the next road crossing. He puts the sand right in the firebox. That sand runs around through the flues and comes off the stack flat. So if you're on the left-hand side in the back, you might see the big black clouds of smoke come out of that stack.
The Black Hills cover more than 2 million acres, an area roughly the size of Delaware. Half of that is the Black Hills National Forest. The entire mountain range spans about 120 miles from the southern tip to the north and about 60 miles east to west. Hill City is almost at the exact center. Founded as a mining camp in 1875, Hill City was one of the first settlements in the Black Hills. It boomed in the 1880s as the headquarters for a massive tin mining and manufacturing company, and later as a junction point for the railroad to Detroit. During and after World War II, lithium was mined south of town and was used in nuclear power plants across the country. The lumber industry still thrives here, and thanks to the completion of Mount Rushmore in 1941, so does tourism. Mount Rushmore, which lies only 9 miles southeast, attracts 3 million visitors annually. Many of them pass through Hill City. In fact, many of the town's 780 residents are employed in a tourism-related business. Nowhere is this more apparent than on Main Street, where you will find a number of restaurants, hotels, small retailers, and a thriving art gallery district. If you haven't already walked this charming small-town shopping area, be sure to visit when you return.
As you go over this driveway, we're just about halfway up the hill. Just about at the top of the hill, one more curve.
look to your left at the top of Tin Mill Hill, you can see the grade of the Tin Mill Railroad spur that led west to the mill. This spur divided into two lines so loaded cars of ore could pass over one hopper, then be shunted out of the way until all the cars were unloaded. Then the empties were hauled back to the Addy mine, which lies ahead. The railroad from Hill City to Keystone served in excess of 60 mining claims, either along the route or in the Keystone area. Some were placer and some were hard rock. A few of the mines in the area were the Bobby Pearsall, Etta, Edison, Tycoon, Big Thunder, Holy Terror, Nathaniel Pope, and Tom Custer. The Black Hills was an ancient inland seabed that had 1,000 or more feet of sedimentary rock. For millions of years, the sedimentary rock eroded away, leaving the hardy granite of the Black Hills. The Black Hills are only 100 miles long north and south, 50 or 60 miles wide east and west.
We made it to the top of Tin Mill Hill. Coming over on the right-hand side, there's a clearing. In a distance, you should be able to see Harney Peak. Harney Peak is the highest point east of the Rockies, 7,242 feet high. Kind of looks like a big push button right on the top. That's Harney Peak. And that push button looking thing is actually a fire lookout tower made out of granite. Now the first couple of fire towers they did make out of wood worked fine until they got struck by lightning, burned down. Not very good for a fire tower. So that one we can see is made out of granite right there on top of the peak. We do see Harney Peak again at Palmer Gulch. Now it's no longer used as a fire lookout tower. It is an observation point for hikers. You can hike up there, and on a nice clear day like this one, you can see 5 states: South Dakota, North Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, and Nebraska. The trailhead most folks use is at Sylvan Lake, which is in Custer State Park. The hike is 3 miles up and 3 miles down. It's a great hike. Now we do have 3-man fire towers in the Black Hills during fire season, which is now, so everyone do be careful with anything on fire. We like to keep Smokey Bear very, very happy. Now on our ride, we do travel through national forest and private land. This is national forest. This long needle pine tree that you see is the ponderosa pine. It is the main tree in the Black Hills and the reason for the name Black Hills. If you get a chance to take one of the long needles, kind of roll it in your fingertips, you'll notice one edge of the needle is flat. The flat side absorbs light, therefore the hills appear dark from a distance, just because of the needle on the ponderosa pine tree. I'm sure you've all noticed the big piles of branches. Well, this area was logged about 3 years ago. That's what could be used as the sawmill. They pile it up in those piles and call them slash piles. What happens to those piles? They call them slush piles. Well, if we ever have enough snow in the wintertime, they'll be burned. Last winter we did not have enough snow. They're still here. I'm sure little critters are living in there. You know, squirrels, rabbits, chipmunks, little critters. Now over here on the left, some folks asked me Friday when I was working what the big piles were. Fertilizer. Actually, we had cattle back here. And this is what they left. They were here until Wednesday. They were here for 3 weeks. So we have the open range law in South Dakota, so we got to toot our whistle at them quite often because they like to walk right on the track. We don't have it fenced off, so they can do that. They have the right of way. But meanwhile, this is what they did. They left all this fertilizer for us.
You want to go up there in your Jeep?
We went back.
Now on the right-hand side, you'll notice a very tall fence around this boatyard. Well, that fence is to keep the deer out. This summer they have a very gorgeous garden and lots of pretty flowers. Across 3 nights, I think it's been. On the right-hand side of the train, you'll see the tall poles standing straight up, crookedy wires hanging down. Telegraph line put in for communication between Hill City and Keystone. And you'll notice there's still some glass insulators on the top.
I see snakes. Oh, I see snakes. What? I see snakes.
Now their communication would have been Morse code. We use Morse code every time we cross the road for the letter Q. Too long, short, and a long. This goes back to British nautical days when the Queen was on board ship. They would sound that whistle in the harbor, so she would have the right of way. Trains adopted it, so we have the right of way. The letter Q in Morse code. Now, since this rail was put in for mining purposes, we go through some mining communities. Pretty quick, on the left-hand side of the draw, you're going to see a log building and a board building. These were built by miners and left by them. And coming up on the right shortly, there's going to be a 2-story gray house. Now, the miners used this house for whatever they needed at the time: school, store, bar, hospital. And this little area is called Kennedyville. Also on the right, you'll see a huge pile of mulch. These folks decided to chip their slash piles instead of waiting for snow, I guess. Not sure where they're going to put it all, but they have a pile.
See the grade of the railroad spur that led to the Addy mine. It curves by the little brown shed for about a half-mile. The Addy mine main shaft dove 800 feet below the Earth's surface. Very little tin was actually found at this mine. Addy Camp was located at the mouth of Palmer Gulch, which you're now entering. A number of small placer mining operations existed here in 1875, and the ruins of some larger industrial mines dating to the 1930s are found on the northwest ridge, which is off to your left. Mining production records show that in 75 years between 1876 and 1951, $666 million worth of valuables were taken out of the Black Hills. The most value was in gold, bentonite, pegmatite, minerals, and silver. Others were gypsum, limestone, lime, tungsten, pyrite, arsenic, lead, zinc, and copper.
Now when you do see the homes along the way, yes, these people do own their land here in the Black Hills. Private land came about mostly because of the miners. The miners came in, staked their claim, and then they had private land. Bigger parcels of land is because of the Homestead Act. So in the Black Hills, it averages out to about 10% of the land is privately owned and 90% is not. And yes, there's a lot of private along our route because it was put in for mining purposes, and these would have been mining claims.
On your left is a large, weathered building known as the Good Luck Tungsten Mine, which flourished during both World Wars. Tungsten was used to harden steel. The view to your right is dominated by Hardy Peak, the large mountain with the stone fire lookout on top. At 7,242 feet, Hardy Peak is the highest point in the Black Hills and tallest mountain in North America east of the Rockies. Although the Black Hills are only 130 miles away from the eastern slopes of the Rocky Mountains, they are completely separate formations. The 2-billion-year-old rocks you see around you are much older than the 20-million-year-old slopes of the Rocky Mountains.
Now, if anybody was staying at the KOA at Highway 244, it's to your right up that gulch. I believe the lodge is still open. Harmon Gulch was placer mine that's mining above ground, using water, kind of like Panda for gold. And yeah, we're going uphill on our way downhill to Keystone. We're on our way to oblivion. But over on the right, folks ask us about this property all the time. It's a little different, it's unusual. The first thing you're going to see is a private home built on a pile of rocks. Then you're going to see a shop building with equipment. Well, the man's a contractor who works with dirt and rocks and evidently likes them. So it's just a private home.
Originally a logging camp that served mining operations throughout Alder Gulch. The spur you see leading off to your right was an elaborate system built in the 1950s to handle both narrow and standard gauge trains. The Oblivion area was later used as one of the sets for the movie The Orphan Train.
The narrow gauge line is over there on the right. Like I said, it's the only piece of narrow gauge we have left at that time. Now that Orphan Train movie is a movie about the children from the Reeds traveling west on trains to find homes. There's also an episode of Gunsmoke filmed up here called Snow Train. Oblivion is about halfway. We'll get up here and level out, and now it's definitely downhill the rest of the way to Keystone. The next voice you get to hear is Rick Mills. Rick Mills is the curator of the South Dakota State Railroad Museum located in our train yard in Hill City. And Rick likes to talk to us about trains.
What is it that fascinates us about trains? Hi, this is Rick Mills, and I share that interest in railroads with many of you. Did you grow up watching trains roll by like I did? Did you wonder where the people were traveling to on those passenger trains? I am sure that you counted the cars on long freight trains that rolled by, and wondered what was being hauled in the various cars. The railroads are a shared experience for us as Americans. Here in the Black Hills region, the railroads were the major catalyst for settlement, business, growth, and tourism over the past 125 years. The railroads brought my great-great-grandfather and his family to a homestead east of here along Lower Mountain Creek near Hermosa over a century ago. Many of our families share a similar story of homesteading in the West and riding on the rails. The trains hauled us to our new homes, the many tons of gold ore to the mill, goods from the catalog houses of the East, thousands of head of cattle to market, and even the dynamite over these very rails to Keystone to help carve Mount Rushmore. If you would like to learn more about the history of the railroads in the Black Hills, please ask your train host or hostess about the 1880 train guidebook, your complete reference to your trip on the 1880 train. After your ride on the train, visit the gift shops at either the Hill City or Keystone depots for more history books and gifts related to our common American experience, the railroad. The romance of the rails and its sense of adventure and nostalgia still attracts folks like yourself to the Black Hills. But these days it is to explore the Black Hills on this grand old train, the famous 1880 train.
Now over to our right in the distance, you should be able to see Elkhorn Mountain, 6,200 foot, 1,000 foot shorter than Harney Peak, but hiding Harney Peak, so down here looking up. Now Joe, our brakeman, will be coming to the train cars, and he has to offer to you for sale that all aboard the 1880 train guidebook that Rick Mills just spoke about. 36 pages of information all about this train, the cars, the engines, the history of the Black Hills Central Railroad. The map on the back inside cover follows our rail trail. Pages preceding the map talk about everything I and Jim in the box talk about. Great little book, just $3. If you'd like to have one, stop Joe. He'll be happy to sell you one. He'll start at the front, work his way to the back. And once you get your book, you might notice on the front cover is Joe, the conductor that time. Yes, they change hats. And sometimes he's the conductor, not the brakeman. But if he'd like to autograph your book, he will, as long as you ask him. Here we are, the pleasant open meadow. Elkhorn Mountain on the right. Now if you can see this rock mountain from there, it does take on the shape of an elk antler. Elkhorn must be easier to say because we know elk do not have horns, they have antlers. But anyway, it's over there on the right.
Your guidebooks. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So your guidebooks.
And when my license, you give me the passport. And why is it more hard to get?
An assortment of vintage rolling stock from numerous railroads around the country has been assembled at the 1880 train. An interesting combination of locomotives, passenger, freight, and maintenance cars have called Hill City home since the 1950s. There are 3 operating steam locomotives at the 1880 train. First is engine number 7. It is a 262 with tender built by Baldwin Locomotive Works for the Ozan-Utah Railroad several years later. The 7 was then sold to the Prescott and Northwestern in northern Arkansas in 1938 and was acquired by the Black Hills Central Railroad in 1962. Engine number 7 holds 1,000 gallons of recycled oil and a whopping 4,000 gallons of water. Next is engine 104, a 262T tank engine that was built by Baldwin Locomotive Works in 1926 for the Silver Falls Timber Company in Oregon and the Peninsula Terminal Railroads in Portland, Oregon. The Black Hills Central Railroad acquired 104 and its twin 103 in 1965. The 104 has been in continuous service over the years. 103 is currently in storage awaiting restoration. Engine 104 holds 1,600 gallons of water and can carry 750 gallons of recycled oil. The last engine on the roster is number 110. It's a 2662T compound articulated Mallet, built by the Baldwin Locomotive Works in 1928 for the Weyerhaeuser Timber Company of Vail, Washington. Its next stop was the Rayonier Lumber Company, where it received a tender from Rayonier 101, and then the engine was retired in 1968. The engine was later displayed at the Wasatch Mountain Railway in Heber City, Utah, and then sold to Nevada State Railway Museum. The number 110 was sold to the Black Hills Central Railroad in 1999. It was trucked from Nevada to South Dakota on 4 semi-trailers. Restoration of the engine by the mechanical crew of the BHC was completed in the spring of 2001. It's the only 2662 Mallet in service in the world.
Now that was until August of this year. The Niles Canyon Railway in California got their 2662 up and running, and it's called Clover Valley number 4. It was built in 1924. So there's 2 of them up and running now in the United States. We're almost at the end of the meadow.
Well, we almost now.
Now we're going down into Battle Creek Canyon. Down in here we do cross the road quite a few times. In a short while, even whistle. The whistle even echoes down here in the canyon. Now we're going to cross over another hiking trail. I did talk a bit about the Nicholson Trail. This trail is the Centennial Trail. You'll see the trail markers on either side of your train car. It was built in 1989 to commemorate South Dakota's 100th birthday. It's 100 miles long. It goes from Bear View to Wind Cave. Trailheads every 8 to 10 miles. Really nice hiking right down through the center of the Black Hills. The Centennial Trail.
We just passed.
You'll see the tall granite cliffs. Granite is the type of rock this is, and it's actually called hardy granite. All the tall peaks in the center of the Black Hills are this type of rock, hardy granite. So that would be Hardy Peak, Elkhorn Mountain, Mount Rushmore, Crazy Horse, and Needles, all the same type of rock, hardy granite. trestle we're going to go over. Trestle is the train bridge. We go over quite a few. And on the left, high on top of the rock hill, you'll see the tall wooden cross. Wooden cross is put up at a church camp, which should be at our right in the next road crossing.
Surrounding timber during the 1920s to serve various mines. The whole community was usually called Pine Camp.
Now from up where their camp is, they can see the cross they put up. This camp's used year-round, of course, in the summertime. We'll go on down the canyon. Now you might have noticed how the rocks have a bit of a sparkle to them. That sparkle in the rocks is due to a mineral called mica, M-I-C-A. The rocks themselves is usually mica schist, S-C-H-I-S-T. A little flecks of mica gets off of the rock and it goes in the dirt. And I think it looks like somebody had a really big can of glitter spray and just sprayed everything. Everything is glittery and sprayed. Now there's a guy waving over here on the left. He bought the property so he could wave. So everybody wave at Tom. So on either side of the track, we are trimming our railroad right away. A lot. The white bark trees that you see are birch and aspen. Aspen trees have white, tight bark, and they look like they're standing alone above ground. Birch trees have white peeling bark, and they're in a bunch at the base, so a birch in a bunch, aspen alone. The ones with the red leaves,
Here you guys go.
some of red leaves, that's chokecherry, there's also harvestberry, wild plum, we have gooseberry, currant, raspberry, and strawberry. Wild
It's
rose,
$20 for the two.
elm, ash, cottonwood,
So where are you guys
down
from?
near the creek along the
We didn't get to see it in the tour table. What's that yarn for? Power yarns? That is what I saw it at the train station. Why not jump out? I saw a picture of people sliding. And remember those things that you sit in the seat and
Town for the workers in a big feldspar quarry. It is now a group of summer homes.
But right now we're going through Keystone Junction. This is as far as Burlington Northern rebuilt the tracks after that flood in 1972, so it couldn't go any further until 2001.
on the back.
At that time, Black Hill Central Railroad got busy putting the rest of the rail back into Keystone Town. 3 trestles, 2 road crossings. Now we get... So if somebody was counting, you would know that was number 20, our last road crossing before we get to Keystone Station. We'll be there just shortly. I'm not sure if some of you folks just get to ride one way with us, but if so, we're happy that you got to do that. Hope you had a great time, enjoyed yourself. Thank you so much for riding. Come back and see us when you're in the hills. Everyone else returning to Hill City with us, we are at Keystone Station, 15 minutes. Just long enough for the engine to uncouple from us, go up and get water, and couple up at the other end. So what is now the front of the train will become the back will become the front, the middle stays put right here in the middle. So for your return trip, you're going to want to ask your aisle partner and change to the other side of your train car. We don't move train cars in order to see something different. You also want to flip your seat so you're not riding backwards. Once we get up here and get stopped, there's a brass handle on the aisle side right there on the top. You pull it and the seat back flips the other way. Works pretty slick. Now we do have restrooms on the outside of our depot building, but 15 minutes is not enough time to tour the whole town of Keystone, and I know that we are not coming back until tomorrow at the same time. So So if you don't want to get off the train, you don't have to, but if you'd like to, you may. If you have a certain space you want to sit in on the way back, the only way to save a seat on this train is to leave a person behind and they become a seat. Don't leave your belongings lying there because they might not be there when you get back. You also can change cars at this time once we get up here and get stopped if you would like to. But getting off the train here in Keystone is different than getting on in Hill City. We can only get off from the front two cars on the right-hand side. There's an aluminum ramps that flip out onto the concrete platform. So folks that are in Orville, Keystone, Rochford, and Hillio, the last car, you have to walk down through the center aisle till you get to an aluminum ramp on the right-hand side. All the chains are up for a reason. Don't cross a chain anywhere. You can see the sidetrack. That's where the engine's going to go. Weighs 222,000 pounds only, and no, we won't stop. So don't cross the chain. Be careful when you're walking between the cars on those planks. Wait for the last whistle before you get up. Now these aluminum ramps, I do call them flippers. They have little lips on either side of them. And it's really easy to trip on those flipper lips. Walk straight off. You also might have to duck your head.
Okay, the train's going to back around and hook on the other end of the cars. Here we are in Keystone.
Well, we're heading back to the... Oh, there's Dad, Josh.
We rode the Old Hill Road from here back to Hill City, following the tracks.
I don't know which one.
I think we're the last one. Well, we are the last one.
Oh, we're in no hurry.
Oh, keep going back.
Stop, Jake. Stop where that says Black Hill.